and welcome to the Artist Behind the Music UK series. Today we have Gary Quinn with us, joining us from across the pond. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us on the show. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to chat with you. We're kicking off 2021 in musical style. So let's hear a little bit about what kind of got you into music. Let's backtrack and kind of talk about, your inspirations and why you chose music to be your life work.
Yeah, sure. I think as I've gone over the years, what I've definitely found out is that music is within you, or creativity in any way. So even if it's not something you start out doing, it's something you probably end up in. But to throw it back maybe to when I was around 13 or 14, there was always family gatherings in Ireland where I grew up in Omagh in Northern Ireland. So you had to do your turn. Somebody would do a poem, somebody would sing a song and maybe play the guitar. So you didn't want to feel left out. So you felt a bit of pressure to maybe add something, but I was listening a lot to country music with the likes of Garth Brooks, who's a huge hero of mine.
Yeah.
So my party piece was singing a Garth Brooks song, and really just developed from that. You kind of get support from your family and some of your friends, and with that support, you think, is it something I could travel into? But you're also aware that your family will support you doing anything, so you take it with a pinch of salt to an extent. But as I moved over to university in Manchester, that's when I kind of thought, writing songs and certainly trying to get into music afterwards, after I got my studies, was something that I wanted to do. And thankfully, ever since I've made that commitment, it started to work out for me.
Isn't it neat? Hey, once you make that commitment, like, this is what I'm doing, there's just no other option, right? It's like, there can be struggles and ups and downs, but when you commit to yourself and you're like, this is my path, this is where I'm going, it's so much easier to stay on track when you've made that commitment to yourself, instead of kind of like, oh, music's just a hobby or it's just something I do. It's a lot easier to weave in and out, but when you truly commit to making music your career, it's much easier, I think, to stick with it.
It's much easier to stick with it, but it's harder to do.
Yeah.
So,
and it's easy.
Yeah, I think because I've also, like, I've done both. Whenever you go and get your studies, I thought there was that line that you had to follow. I'd done the academic route, got a job 9 to 5, but like I said, this creativity was always bubbling. And you don't want to let people down. You have responsibilities, so making that commitment and dive into music is a scary one because bills have to be paid. But I think it's easier to stay focused when you have that fear of it, almost, that you got to make it work. Mm-hmm. So I had a couple of years dilemma where I was back and forth, like you talked about there, but I've felt much freer and much more honest with myself and my craft since I've made that commitment. And being involved and immersed around the music 24/7, I think helps you grow and know where you want to be. And it also, you have to have a thick skin, so you take the rejection a lot better because there's another opportunity coming up pretty quick. So that's definitely been a big move over the last couple of years for myself, particularly in country music. But one I'm glad I've made now, and the way it's taken me in the last number of years, the doors it's opened, the places I've visited, I would have never done that had I not made that commitment. So thankfully, fingers crossed, it continues to keep going.
Yeah, and love hearing stories like this. When you fully just commit to your passion, amazing things can happen. You've had a pretty successful few years. Let's hear some kind of highlights and the things that most stand out to you as your successes over the past few years.
Sure. I can remember around 10 years ago getting to visit Nashville with a crowd from Belfast. The Belfast Nashville Songwriters Festival took us over and gave us an opportunity to showcase at a few different places. Introduced us to some people that I've still stayed in touch with that have allowed me to get back and forth often over the 10 years. But we visited the Bluebird and I attended there as a spectator. But I got to go back 2 years ago as a performer, which just blew my mind. So to play the Bluebird a couple of times over the last number of years has been really important. It's been a bucket list tick off. But once you zone in on one dream and you tick it off, then it just creates another. So next step hopefully will be the Opry,
Yeah.
But yeah, you'd never know. So that's been a huge highlight. Got to meet Garth Brooks, like I mentioned, a hero of mine. Again, was a huge thing, and some of the friends I've got out of visiting Nashville, like Steve Wariner and Phil Vassar. I mentioned Brett Kissel there too, who I've met out there a few times. So it's allowed me to broaden my musical horizons and write up and reach higher, because you're dealing with top class guys here. So that's what I've always wanted to do, is kind of continue to improve. I played the CMA festival as well out in Nashville, CMA Fest. Done some great festivals here in the UK, C2C in London for a number of years. The pop-up stages that they have there and the crowds that they have are phenomenal. So we have our Buckle and Boots Festival here that I'm part of, and watching that grow over the last couple of years has been huge. There's almost so much trying to cram in.
Yeah, no,
it's just really exciting.
Let's talk about that for a second, just the festival that you've created overseas there. And tell us a little bit about what inspired the idea and the concept of the show, and kind of some of the artists that you've had the opportunity to have play there.
Yeah, so the festival is called Buckle and Boots Festival. We started that in 2015, which was about 2 years after London C2C happened country to country, where they were bringing a lot of A-list acts over to try and really push American country music forward here in the UK. As an artist, I felt just there wasn't as many platforms for the UK artists to perform at. C2C was certainly one of them, and there was a few other festivals that maybe welcomed country but weren't solely developed for country. So I met with Carl Hancock and his wife Jenn and his daughter Laura here in Manchester, who already were running a few different festivals, and we broached the idea of a country festival. I wanted another platform, like I said, for me and my colleagues to play on, but I just felt that the time was right to maybe focus on trying to look at creating a weekend event where people would travel to come to. And thankfully they have done ever since 2005, apart from obviously last year with COVID. But we've had some incredible acts from the UK play, the likes of Kezia Gill, Jade Halliwell, we've had Ward Thomas, we've had Raintown, Laura Oakes, you know, the list goes on. And then some international acts. We've had William Michael Morgan play, he's a good friend. We've had Phil Vassar headline, who I mentioned a couple of years ago. Brett Kissel, we've had perform, coming over from Canada. Yeah, and we had T-Bay scheduled for this year, who unfortunately, again, we've had to cancel, but for 2021, T-Bay still lined up for us in May, so fingers crossed that can go ahead.
Yes.
We've had Morgan Evans as well from the US, so just trying to be as eclectic as possible, and be that event that maybe if you haven't heard of that artist before, you will certainly walk away as a fan, both UK and international. So it's been a cool ride. Long may it continue. Yeah,
that's awesome. I think it's so fun to go to festivals and to be a part of festivals, just the energy of all the different musicians coming through, and all the energy of all the fans that are there, just to all celebrate the same thing. And something I love about live shows is just that celebration of music, and how people just come together on such a global level, where it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, or what you do, you're all there to enjoy the same experience, which is something that I really miss about live music.
Yeah, you're not alone on that. We're feeling the exact same here. I think that to pinpoint right in on the fact that it is that energy, it's that community of people that have this same love for the same thing. And that can be any walk of life that you come from, you know, the demographic from 13 years of age right up to 75, you know, but you share country music as a common denominator. But then you find out you have other things in common, and then there's these little family connections through the festival. The people come back because it's the only time they see each other. Yet it's a hub for those connections. So we've been very fortunate to have that within country music here in the UK. I think that it's a big following together, rather than separate entities. I think trying to do their own thing. We try to be as inclusive as we can, ensuring the quality is high, but the experience has to be really good. You know, you could have the best artists in the world, but if the experience is no good, then they'll not come back.
It's so true. It's so true. And that's important as a, you know, creator of a festival, is just making sure that not only there's the talent there, but that there's a good experience as a whole. Exactly. for the audience. Yeah.
Very true.
So many things that go into a show, right? It's not just putting the artist on the stage. There's many little pieces on the behind the scenes front.
It sure is. I think had I known that, maybe I wouldn't have jumped in as much as I did. But it's been a learning curve.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's another finger in a pie where you're thinking, music and releasing music and artistry and writing is one avenue. Event coordination and promotion is quite another. But if you can make the two work together, then I think they can work in harmony. It does take a lot of time, getting a show together, the logistics of it, ensuring everybody's on the same page, and trying to get the right people involved, not trying to use the same people over and over. But the team, the Buckle Boots team are huge, and that's their experience, that's their forte. They've helped me learn that quite quickly. But I think more so for myself would be trying to pick out the artists that need to play and what way it should be delivered. And it can be a real pain because sometimes you're letting people down. Sometimes they're your friends that you're letting down here in the scene. But for the most part, I think they understand that every show can't be the same. I mean, you're always on the lookout for new talents.
And there's so much talent out here. Like in the world, there's just so many people who have amazing talents to share. And it's just, there is space for everybody, but that space needs to continuously rotate, right? To create space. So
I think so, because certainly for ourselves, and I think listeners are like this too, in the way we listen to music.
Yeah.
That you want to hear something new, but you kind of want to hear something new all the time. So you may hear something you like it, go into the catalog, support that for a while, then you want to support something new. But I know as growing up listening to country music, it was Garth Brooks or nothing.
Yeah.
And I thought that's 90s country was very like that you had your guy or your girl.
I was a Shania Twain girl.
And there you go. Although interestingly, those are the two artists that done the crossover here to the UK. Garth and Shania broke those molds, which was very important. But yeah, so you stuck with one artist. But the way we listen to music now, and shows like this, and giving us a chance to showcase, give the listener more chance to hear what's out there that maybe they would have never heard 10 years ago.
Yes, this is so true. Get the variety happening. That's awesome. So you were chatting before just about surrounding yourself with people like in Nashville per se, and just how the people you have around you inspire you to be an elevated, better version of yourself. What are some things or some advice that you might have to share with anybody about being aware and mindful of who you have in your circle and who's really on your team and who's maybe not, lifting you up to your highest self?
Yeah, I think the people that you need around you are people who are supportive first and foremost. I understand that there's competition within all of this, but the big thing I found out in Nashville was no matter who you were welcome in the circle if you had something to offer, and that they would try and help. But if you were to be abusive of that help, then you wouldn't be welcome back in the circle. But I think that's just a life lesson in general anyway, that you don't want to use and abuse. Your friendship circle are there to support and help, but not to be used and abused. So for me, it would be true to who you are, not trying to be who you think they want you to be. Where I might have been guilty of that way back when I started. You have this idea that you have to be a version of somebody that people want to see or hear. And that's not just in music. I think that's in life too. But once you're comfortable with who you are, what you want to write, what you want to release, you'll probably have a better experience within music, and your content will be a lot better rather than trying to chase a version of you. So that would be my biggest piece of advice, really.
I'm a big fan of that, just being true to your authentic self. And I think sometimes it's really hard to find what that looks like, especially when you're distracted in the world of social media and just surrounded by, people just trying to be highlighted on social media. And I just find, especially this past year, our whole world has become online, right? So just separating yourself from that and really tuning into who am I think is a really, really good piece of advice.
Yeah, and I think social media is great because it does allow for more communication. It does allow for connection in such a global way.
Yeah.
Downfalls, obviously, because if you are then turning around and comparing yourself to everybody, then there's a very dark tunnel you can end up going down. Certainly, maybe a younger person. I mean, I'm in my 30s now, so I could have easily got dragged into that, but I probably did it in other ways when I was growing up. So
true.
Just just focusing back on yourself and what it is that you want to stand for, what it is you want to release. And my own music has always changed. You know, I was putting out honky tonk stuff when I first started, and now it's gone a little more pop because I want to stay relevant, but I also enjoy that music, and I enjoy writing that way. So I will tap back into the 90s vibe now and again too, because that's the way I love to write. So it's not trying to pigeonhole in such a way that you can't get out of it. Don't box yourself in, you know. Go and write a completely random genre track. Just make good music.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, we can get into trouble too as artists being like, oh, I have to make sure my music sounds like this. And it's just, it limits your creativity and that expansive mindset, right?
Sure does. Because if you get knocked back in that as well, there's less likelihood of you going back to being who you were, because you didn't trust that in the first place. Now you don't trust where you were going, which can be quite confusing. So the more focused you can be to your own core, I think you can deviate out of that. But just get your core and then kind of flourish out from there.
Yes, big fan of that. Big fan of finding your core. So you have new music coming out. Let's hear a little bit about your new song.
I do, yeah. It's going out on Friday, the 8th of January. And just as we were talking about evolving in artistry and writing, this was something very purposeful in my head the last time I was in Nashville. And that's going back to the early part of last year before COVID-19 hit. So going back and forth over the years, I've met different people and worked in different circles. And I'm able to talk more freely about where I'm going, what I want to do. And one of my friends just said I should get into a room with John Gurney and Kyle Slinger, who were both in company at the time. And we just said, yeah, let's see if we can make something work. Now, Kyle would have had a success with, in case you didn't know, with Brett Young, when Brett Young released that. So he was a co-write on that. And John Gurney is a winner of the NSAI International Songwriting Competition from 2018. And has since gone on to release some really good content on Spotify. So they both kind of were involved very heavily in where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
So we ended up meeting together. We rode around to John's place. This was the night before I was due to fly out as well. So it was quite pressured. And I was nervous because, I was thinking this is a kind of big deal because it kind of says yay or nay of where I need to be. And they were great. It was a great write. We got it completed that day, got it demoed, and here we are.
Nashville
so many
styled, right?
months later, yeah. And it's ready to rock now on Friday. So I'm really grateful for that time and getting out to Nashville to write with those guys. But equally thankful for the producer on the track is a guy from Sweden. So we're going really international with this now.
I love that. That's cool.
Richard Alex produced my last track, Tip of My Tongue, that was received well on Spotify and iTunes. So I wanted to keep that connection. He really gets on board with where I'm going artistically. Yeah. And it was so relaxed because we built up a good friendship. So I felt that I've had more input to the production of this than I've ever had before. So yeah, that's probably why I'm most excited, really, that I feel this is channeling more of where I'm allowed to be or where I want to be. And COVID has helped drive that along because it's given me time to focus on it. So it'll be interesting just to see what the feedback's like, but it's something I'm proud of and something I think that sounds great. So hopefully everybody else does too.
Oh, that's excellent. And I love kind of what you said too about just how COVID, even this year has been insane, but there's just something about retreating within and just really zoning in on, that core self and your values and, where do I want to go? I find a lot of people are saying that that's what they pulled from last year. So I love hearing that. That's great.
Great, yeah.
You're ready to play for us. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, well, I was just going to say, COVID has been so bad in so many ways, it's really affected everybody. But just to reiterate what you said, it's allowed that time to focus. Yeah. And didn't just allow me to focus musically. I have 2 young kids, and the time I've got with them now, I probably would have never got because they've always been at school or, it's affected the way we can travel around. So just watching them grow up has been incredible too, and their little personalities are starting to come out. So I've kind of been thankful for this almost forced lockdown that we're in, but obviously didn't want it to be as negative as people losing their lives. But it's certainly been a catalyst to help me see where I'm at and where I need to be going.
Yeah, me too. I'm in the exact same boat as that. It's just really helped kind of reprioritize priorities, really, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, it's been an interesting ride. I kind of see just the past year as just being like this cocoon thing, like we're butterflies just ready to shine in a new way again. So
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
yeah, that's my spirit animal, a butterfly. So well, that's awesome. Well, yeah, if you're ready to play for us, I would love to hear you play.
Sure. Well, I'll do the new track that's coming out Friday.
Excellent.
This is called Nobody Somebody. Anybody that wants to see an acoustic version live that we shot in Sweden of this can go and do that by pre-saving the song on Spotify before it comes out January the 8th. And then the link will go up, I'm sure, sometime after that. But yeah, it's called Nobody Somebody. Didn't even know that I was lost before I found you. Now I see who I'm supposed to be anytime that I'm around you. I don't know how a girl like you choose a guy like me. Why would anybody question meant to be? I know, you know, I'm never gonna be the guy because I'm right. Standing on the main stage, spotlight pointing my way. You got me living a dream. Finally, I'm just me being me. You made this nobody somebody. I was just a shadow of a man before I met you. Thought a million years would come and pass before I get you. Girl, somehow you took this kid, turned into a king. Don't need fortune, don't need fame, give me everything. I'm never gonna be the guy with 3 cars and drive. Standing on the main stage, spotlight pointing my way. You got me living a dream. Finally, I'm just me being me. You made this nobody somebody. 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 Wasn't gonna be just anybody. Anybody. Never gonna be the guy with 3 cars and a drive. Standing on the main stage, spotlight pointing my way. You got me living a dream. Finally, I'm just me being me. You made this nobody somebody. Somebody.
That was so good. I love it. Oh, I'm so
Thank you very
excited
much.
to hear the full version. It's awesome.
Thank you.
And you know what?
Appreciate
It very fell in line with our conversation today. Was just being me, right? And just coming
Exactly.
back to that authenticity.
Exactly. I think the idea actually for the song came from watching a Garth Brooks live video where in his shows he passes out a guitar to some young member in the audience and they capture the reaction of that. And there was this one instance where a young kid got the guitar, started crying.
Oh.
He's saying thank you. And Garth just says, you know, listen, thank you for making this nobody feel like somebody in front of everybody. And that's the idea we tried to capture in the song, this nobody, somebody, everybody. We dropped the everybody to make it like a love song because when you're in love, you feel that person beside you is making you the best you can be, or at least should. That's the way it should be. Doesn't always necessarily have to be somebody, but for some it does. So that's why we made it a love song. But yeah, it does. It captures into, as long as if you can be with somebody that makes you feel who you are, and you can be your true self with them, then that's pretty much what the song's about.
I like that it can be so universal too. It doesn't necessarily have to be a love song, as your inspiration was, from Garth on stage, just saying thank you to his fans. Like, that's such a beautiful story. And it just reminds you that we all have impact on people, whether it's, a relationship to a stranger, to just somebody, that works at the grocery store. Like, everybody is here supporting each other, right? And there's just something so beautiful about that, and I love that message.
I think it's just, as I was sitting singing this, I've 2 pictures of my kids in front of me, and it's just hit me that they could be those guys, give me that support as well. So it is universal, and what I've seen most online is this value of support, and the amount of support coming forward from everybody, for everybody. There's a few bits of negativity here, there, and everywhere, but COVID has almost helped us be more human, be more humane. So, hopefully going into 2020, we can all have a bit more of a positive impact on one another.
Yes, that's the goal. The human goal should just be that. Positivity. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I'd love to hear another song if you're ready to rock out again.
Sure. This is going back a few years to an EP that I released back in 2017. I wrote this with a guy called David C. Banning in Texas, and talking about technology and its impact. We were able to write this on email and text message.
What?
Although we'd met in Nashville, we never had the opportunity to write while I was there. So we just wrote this back and forth through email, and we've done a few numbers together. And I woke up to a text message at around 5 a.m. saying, "Hey, dude, I'd really like to write a sexy song." So we wrote a sexy song, and this is a song called Body Language.
Nice.
Black lace hanging off your shoulder. I'm hooked on every move as you move closer. With a glint of candlelight dancing in your eyes, giving me that mischievous smile. Little sway in the way that you're walking tells me there's no need for talking. Then you let your hair fall down, baby, there's no doubt I'm reading all the signs. Oh, love how your body language lets me know everything you're feeling. How you sip that glass of wine, your eyes fixed on mine, to show you're in control of the evening. When you bite your lower lip, I just can't resist getting all tangled up and lost in your body language. Girl, you got me thinking I'm dreaming, to remind me this ain't no time for sleeping. You blow me a kiss, do a little twist, and shake that negligee to the floor. Oh, I love how your body language lets me know everything you're feeling. How you sip that glass of wine, your eyes fixed on mine, to show you're in control of the evening. When you bite your lower lip, I just can't resist getting all tangled up and lost in your body language. Oh, I can't read minds, but I ain't blind. I got the message nice and clear. I'm pretty sure I don't need words to take the conversation from here. Oh, I love how your body language lets me know everything you're feeling. How you sip that glass of wine, your eyes fixed on mine, to show you're in control of the evening. When you bite your lower lip, I just can't resist getting all tangled up and lost lost in your body language.
Nice. That's a great song too. That song just
Thank
makes
you.
me kind of want to be on a beach and just like swaying at a festival outside.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love how you said the story about just writing that over email and text messages. It's so cool to hear different ways to write music.
Yeah, I think it's something that's been around for a little while. You know, I've worked with a few different artists abroad, and that would be a way that we'd have done it.
Yeah.
What I've seen massively now with all my friends across the world writing songs is Zoom is the way forward. You know,
Totally.
now the difficulty could be if I'm at 6 a.m. in the morning and someone is in Australia is at 9 p.m. But it's interesting, you know, and it's actually forced us to work in ways that we've had to think a little differently. But the outcomes have been fantastic.
Yes, I agree completely. And it's so cool that, we can connect with people on different continents and different time zones, and we don't have to fly across the world to make it happen. We just click on our computers in our homes and there we go. We're writing songs all over the world. It's so cool. I love it. Well, it's been great having you on the show. I love your music. I love your story, and just that message about being you and coming back to your core and just letting yourself shine is such an important one. So thank you for sharing that today. I always like to close these up with asking the question, if you had one message to share with the world, what would that be?
Again, it's just what we talked about. Just be you. That's the message I want to send out to my kids each and every day. Try not to make them box in. And just, it's nice to be nice. You know, just be nice.
I like that a lot. It's nice to be nice. That's perfect. Well, make sure you check out Gary's new song coming out this Friday, and it's available all streaming services and all that good stuff. So where else can they find you? Website, Instagram?
Yeah, exactly. So direct on my website, which is garyjpquinn.co.uk, and all my social handles on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc. is simply Gary Quinn Music. And I'll be releasing a lot of stuff throughout the early part of 2021. So get involved for this single on the 8th of January, and there'll be more news and more music coming very, very soon.
Excellent. And we'll make sure we put links on the captions below so everyone can click and check you out. Thanks again, Gary, so much for being a part of the show. I look forward to hearing your new tune.
No, thank you so much for giving me your time, and thank you to all your listeners for tuning in. And yeah, here's to 2021. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Here's to 2021.